Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on March 15th, 2022 at approximately 9:14 a.m. PST. I've been a little scattered as of late, but it's time to get down to business, I think. So we'll start with the obvious issue. Okay, to start with, I returned to this lifetime, at this time, to literally pass on a very simple message to everybody in existence. And that is that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. But all of that change is going to require everybody's help. To that end, if you like our video, absolutely give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel because it's time to get things moving. I've been at this for a year I've basically been running it the way my life does. Run it off a wing and a prayer. So I finally decided the best way to do this is to walk you through exactly how I took my life from where it is to where I desire it to be. Now, I could go back and go through all the mess that I went through, but the reality is every tool that I offer is one that I personally have put to use if it applies to me. Okay, every philosophy I live with that I talk about is one that I personally live by. Now, I've been working in the consulting field quite literally since I was 10 years old, answering questions about personal relationships, business, social interactions, political stuff, not political parties, so don't ask me who to vote for, but operational systems, UFOs, alien technologies, you name the topic, I've probably been dealing with it. Okay, but the change that has to happen. Now, I cannot blame anybody, and I gave up blaming myself because we only work with the tools that we have. Okay, and we can't really blame the teachers simply because the teachers were taught by their forebears with the tools they had. But here's the four steps to successfully change the way your life goes. It all starts right here, not in your head. Energy travels in a very simple fashion. The thought becomes up in the soul level, in the etheric plane. From there, it comes down to the physical body. Now, it comes into the heart. Okay, when you get that imperative, that emotional imperative to do something, that's when you start figuring out how to do it. Now, yes, you are right. The thought comes to your brain. But here's the thing. No matter what comes into your brain, if there is no emotional imperative that goes with it, goes to the brain and it'll peter out. Most people get bored with it. Okay, until they get that emotional imperative. This is why when you go to the doctor and the doctor says you gotta quit smoking or you're going to end up developing cancer or you've got to cut your sugar back because if you don't, you're going to develop diabetes. Well, here's the thing. That's all well and good and it may make all the logical sense in the world. But until it hits here, it's not likely to cause any sort of a functional reaction. And that's where we've got to start looking at. We can leave society in the state it's in, you can sit and do nothing, and your life will continue on until it doesn't. Or you can start changing the way the energy in your home is working. But that starts right here. And here's how to get it from here to the head where you can make it happen. The first thought that's got to come to mind is you've got to have a purpose. Now, the purpose is easy in this case. That purpose is to change the way your life is running, to alter the direction the energy is moving in. Okay, if you're content with the way your life is going, you won't be looking to make changes anywhere. Okay, if you're content in your relationship, if you're happy with your relationship, you won't be looking at other people of interest. If you're interested in guys, you won't be looking at other guys. If you're interested in girls, you won't be looking at other girls. Okay, if you're content at home, you won't be looking outside. Okay, and therefore your relationship at home will stay stable. If you're content in your work, you won't be looking at other jobs. If you're content with your employees, you won't be looking to replace them. This is how you tell whether you're content. If you're content with your weight, you will not be looking to drop your weight. Now, I was not content with my weight. Okay, I hit 246 pounds and I figured, no way am I breaking 250. Well, thankfully, I have dropped my weight now. Last I checked, which was last Sunday, just a couple of days ago, obviously, I had dropped my weight to 207. 206.2. So I'm quite happy. And just give me half a second because I have to pause and do this. And let me see here. Now, the purpose is simple. In this case, it is to change the direction that your life is heading. That is the critical factor. That's the purpose. Now, when you get that purpose in mind, it's time to look at the plan. Okay, how do you make that happen? How do you get your life to go where you desire it to go? Well, that's one step at a time. And the first thing that I look at, especially when we look at the way your house is running, make sure the energy in your office is running smoothly. In other words, clear the junk out of the way so you can see what you're working on. To this end, I've managed to get my office set up properly so that I can run things through. So I can get finances balanced, because that's how to make headway. Now, the neat part about that is I just call up this, and I've got a certain goal that I have to make. And of course, income tax helped on this one. I always take at the beginning of the month, I list off what I require, and I add a little to it every month. Now, last month, I took a dip. I didn't hit my goal. My goal, now understand, I only require, for me to run my whole house, I only require $2,500. Okay. However, last month, I've been steadily increasing it, and last month I aimed at 3,500 to build a better backlog. Okay, that worked out really well. Didn't quite make it last month, so I left it at the same level. And this month I've already broken that level. I've already broken that income. So I will carry on with that. But this gets the energy running to make my finances come back on track. It's the same tool that I use that I've talked to you about in the past. Okay, with that in mind, I've got that sorted around. I'm back and writing the Return to Paradise, which is the final book in my series. Okay, in the trilogy I'm currently writing. The other two are already in print. I've got that moving forward properly. I've made the breakthrough I needed to, so that's going well. So needless to say, this idea of I've got a purpose. For me, there's a number of things in it, and you may have a number of purposes you're aiming for. You can have multiple on the go at the same time, but they all follow the same path. You've got to have a purpose first. Okay, then you've got to come up with a plan. Now, the plan is real simple. For me, it's a question of this whole idea of how do you get success? Well, you pick your purpose to start with, and we'll stick to that for the moment. Okay, whatever goal you have, doesn't matter if it's a tiny little thing or if it's a great, big, huge thing. It works the same way. For example, if your purpose, if a goal that you've got, the purpose is to simply get the dishes put away. Okay, presuming at this point they're all washed. Your purpose is simple. Put them away. Okay, the plan, one step at a time. But the thing is, with success, you've got to have a purpose. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have persistence. Pick the plan and do it one step at a time. And that's where this idea of the list comes in. Take the things that are interfering, that are not running smoothly for you, or are, in the case of a major project, anything that is stopping you from attaining that is something that has to be altered. Okay, and it really boils down to taking a look at the goal you've got and going, I'm not dealing with that right now. Okay, that is not the way this is happening. And by doing that, by altering the things that you're doing, by doing them one step at a time, you pick off a little piece and you get it out of the way, and then you go after the next one. If you're digging a hole, you do it one shovelful at a time. The African proverb goes, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. And you always keep it down. I recommend keeping it to a 15-minute to half-hour task because it does enable you to get things finished, and watch them actually evolve. But when you've got a purpose in mind, when you've got a goal set, and I'm talking a goal for you because until it becomes your goal, whether you're an adult or a kid, it doesn't matter. If you're doing this for you, you can make it happen. Okay, sometimes it's tedious as all get out, but waiting for it to get itself done isn't going to work. So you do things one step at a time. And you've got to break the plan down. And the plan doesn't have to be exactly every step of the way right off the bat. All you've got to know is the final goal and break it. And then once you've got a final goal, start eliminating anything that is getting in the way. Okay, an obvious example is this. Okay, I just bought a bunch of these little figures. Now, the goal is going to be getting them sorted. Well, one of the steps, obviously, in this particular goal is pretty black and white. Okay, and in all fairness, you can break everything down into simple goals. If I desire to break these down, then the first thing you have to do, obviously, is you got to get them out of their package. Right. And that's, so that's the first step to it, is to get them out of the package so you can actually work with them. Once you've done that, now you can worry about sorting. These guys, actually it works out kind of neat. Because this little chap here, much as he, and I know you can't see him very well, but this little chap, it fits very nicely as one of the races that I've got to deal with. And by the way, and again, this is another one. Okay, these two that I've got here, and I'll show them a little later when I'm working on them at another time. But the process for putting them away is quite seriously to get them out of the package so I can. Now, that's the biggest issue, is you've got to go one step at a time, just little things. We're not doing very well at this today, but we're going to plug forward and see what we can get away with. Once you've got the plan in mind, take care of it one step at a time, and you only have to plan where it comes to getting a major project done. You only have to plan one step. That's in my way. That's got to be moved. What's beyond that, you can't get to it anyway. It's kind of like counting from 1 to 10 by ones. You cannot get to 4 until you get through 3. Okay, and it's the same all the way across the board. Every project I've ever looked at can be broken down to the same pattern. Okay, so you do it one step at a time. When you get something out of the way, write down another thing. Now, I recommend write down 3 projects, 15 minutes to half an hour in length each, in order to get that done. Okay, that way when you get one done, you can check off a third one. Now, the reason I go with 3 is because when you're looking at everything, like everything runs on 3s, realistically. If you're running a business, find 3 streams of income coming into that business. Each one of those streams, make sure you push to get half of your required income for the business out of each one of those. And the reason for that is if you've got 3 streams, they're all producing roughly a half of what you require. If one of the streams does not perform well, you're still making all you require to run. Okay. Now, in my case, I've got 3 to run my household. Okay, and look at your household as a business. To run your household, you theoretically you have a job. You're either on on a definite income from work, or you're on social services, government assistance, whatever. You may be on both. Now, if you're on both, you've already got 2 streams. Ideally, find a third one. That can be through a part-time job, through a hobby, whatever. Okay, now I'm oversimplifying where it comes to dealing with government. I know that. Okay, where it comes to my household, I've got a job. Okay, I've got a business. There's 2 streams right there. Okay, and of course I've got government income as well. But everybody has government income, but understand, in most people's cases, government income boils down to your GST or what have you, at least in Canada. Okay, and your income tax returns. Okay, both of which are legitimate forms of income. And the whole idea with that is your household income, you literally put on a sheet of paper, because it's your household, everybody involved, we have legally acquired a minimum of X number of dollars by March 31st of 2022 at 1 minute to midnight. Now, the reality of that $2,500 is what I require. You're going to have to figure out what you require based on your rent or your mortgage, your utilities, transportation, food, entertainment, and savings. Oh, and insurance. Okay, all of that included. You look at that as your baseline income, and that's the number you target first at the 2,500. Now, of course, in my case, I've looked at it, okay, and I've gone, yes, I require 25, but I keep pushing it up a little every month. And right now I'm targeting 35. I am very happy to say that right this moment I've broken that 35. Okay, I managed to break that quite nicely. Okay, now I've still got another paycheck coming in and whatever work I can do. So where it comes to business, I've got 3 streams there too. At least I think I do. I've got my contract work that I've got coming in. I've got the consulting that I do, and I've got book sales. 3 streams of income. And again, when you've got 3 streams, and make sure each one is covering 1/2 of what you require. The reason for that is to ensure that when it comes in, if one of the streams is lacking, okay, you've still got the other 2 carrying the weight right. But you've got to be persistent with it. For a plan to work, especially in finances, and realistically in everything, for the plan to work, you have to stick with it. Now, I came up with a plan where it came to dropping weight. And by the way, all those neat little medical ideas that the newfangled medical people are coming up with, standard exercise doesn't work. Standard exercise and standard, this standard idea of, not eating as much, you'll lose weight. I'm living proof. I'm living proof of a lot of things. But it's a logic thing. If you don't put as many calories into your body as what you're utilizing, you're going to burn off the calories that are already there. Now, you've got to do it at a safe pace. And I'm no medical doctor, but I look at it this way. If I'm dropping a pound and a half to 2 pounds a week, okay, on average, then I will drop the weight I desire. Hence, in the last several months, I have dropped, I'm now over 40 pounds lighter than I used to be. But in 6 months, that means I'm dropping at 6 months, I'm dropping, what would it be? About 7 pounds a month. Okay, because 7 to 6 is 42, I'm down 40. About that. Okay, but I've done it without lacking on the food that I require, without actually sacrificing, so I don't get to eat treats, I don't get to eat anything that I'd like to. I just have cut down on the amount. And because of that, my weight has come down. Net result, my energy level's gone up, my focus has gone up. And again, it's not just a question of cutting back on what you eat. It's making sure you eat properly. Now, I'm not the nutritionist by any means. Closest thing I come to a nutritionist is going, do not mix ketchup and ice cream. It's a bad mix, in my opinion. You may like it, I don't know. But with that in mind, okay, get a goal in mind, and that's the whole catch to it. But get a goal that you desire to attain. What other people tell you you have to attain, or that is necessary, if it doesn't feel here, you're not going to likely be able to follow through with it. You will for a little while, but sooner or later, what ends up happening is you get bored with it. For me, I get down certain levels. Like now, with hitting the 206 mark, it's not going to make me take much to get below 205, which will put me lighter than I've been in over a decade. Okay, and that will make me very happy. And Lord knows when I break 200 how long it's been since I've been that. But this is because it got to here. I got the feeling in my own heart that this is something I desire to do. Net result, it's working. Finances work the same way. Cleaning your primary working area. Break it down one shelf at a time. All that matters is that you do things one step at a time. Because as long as you're moving stuff out of the way, as long as you're redirecting the energy and eliminating the things you're not content with in your own life, you will, once you get it all out of the way, as you remove the things you're not content with, the ratio gets higher and higher. Really content with this much, not content with this down here. And what ends up happening is the balance keeps getting better, and you find by accomplishing more, by eliminating the things that upset you or that you're not happy with, what you're left with is a world that you're content with. Now remember, you cannot control how other people think. You cannot control their reactions to what you're doing. But you can certainly control your reactions to their behavior. Now, this doesn't mean it's easy. Okay. I deal with people running into problems all the time. And absolutely, if you've got a question, or if you've got a comment, drop me a message in the content. We'll try English in the comments below. If you'd like to ask a question that you don't desire the general public to see, come right out and contact me at one of the contact points below. Okay, below this video. By doing that, I will do my best to get back to you. Okay. And I'll most of the time I answer directly. Sometimes I'll take that as an inspiration and go, okay, I'm going to deal with this. Now I am going to ask, and this one I would love some feedback on. Okay. I've got to start planning things so that I can come into this on a daily basis and go, here's the topic I'm talking about today. And because I've got to stop this idea myself of just going on a wing and a prayer. Just like you, if you wait for things to happen, it's not going to work well, or it's going to take a long time. Many of you have communication complications with your relationships, whether they are in personal relationships, friends, or career. Okay, and you're waiting for somebody else to move on it, to bring the topic up. I strongly encourage you, do not. Okay. What you're doing by waiting for somebody else is you're saying, yeah, I want it to change, but I don't desire to make it happen. Now, yes, you may be talking to deaf ears, but at least you're doing something. Okay. I've told people, especially my other half, okay, and other halves in the past, I don't take hints well. If you've got a question, for me, come right out and ask it. Because if you're going to talk in ambiguities, the odds are it's going to get missed. Okay. I remember years ago, I was on the road a lot because I was traveling with psychic fairs. At the time, I was still married. And at the time, my wife asked me, she goes, Does anybody ever make a pass at you when you're on the road? And I looked at her, I went, no. Well, maybe. I don't know. Because quite frankly, and then she'd look at me and she goes, yeah, that makes sense. I tried getting your attention for the longest time before we got married. And you never saw any of it. And where it comes to a lot of things, especially when it's emotional things directed at me, most of the time I'm going to miss them. Okay. So I've got my own flaws, but that's okay because I'm off the market anyway. I already found who I'm looking for. But the important thing here is if you've got something you're not content with, waiting for somebody else to open that gate to bridge the subject that you're having trouble with, all you're basically doing for yourself is saying, I'm going to give my control of the situation over to somebody else so that I don't have to look at it. Well, you're going to have to deal with it sooner or later anyway. It's not a question of can you postpone it? You certainly can. But sooner or later, you're going to have to be the one dealing with it. And I strongly encourage you to start dealing with it. This is why today, when I get done this video, I'm going to put a few thoughts down for what I'm going to do for the next couple of days. So that I can start coming into this effective tomorrow, knowing exactly where I'm starting. Which, I don't know, I may start at the beginning, I may start in the middle. The odds are I'll start in the here and now. Because that is the only place that you can make things happen. Now, we're getting down to the half-hour mark here. Okay, I've got a lot of work to do today, a lot of organizing. I'd call it reorganizing, but it hasn't been organized in the first place. You likely have a fair chunk yourself. So with this in mind, I'm going to let you go. I will be back again tomorrow. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.